Hey guys, welcome back to your Daily Dose. Today we're talking about Sistas Season 2, Episode 21. Picking up where last week left off, we see Erin walking in on Karen and Zach getting it on in her office. So I guess he walks out and gives them an opportunity to get it together. And so you see them in her office trying to, I guess, get it together. So she's straightening up her dress. He's trying to put his shirt back on and find his shoes and that type of thing. And the whole time I'm like, Karen, you gonna brush your hair? Because it needs to be brushed. Please don't go out there with your hair like that. It's the most obvious giveaway of what was going on in there, but I guess it didn't matter at that point. So Zach walks out first, and honestly, there's nothing anybody has to say to Zach, so he just leaves. And then the receptionist was told that she can leave and that Karen would do all the cleaning and would close up. Before she leaves, she runs into the office and gets Erin his phone. And then Karen and Erin sit and they have a hard conversation. And essentially, Erin is like, they need to take space from each other. They need it because of what he just saw. And no, he's not mad at her and disappointed in her. He just wanted more for her. It seems like she's so hung up on the sexual piece of the relationship, and that she's not getting that she isn't allowing herself to be fulfilled by the other things that he's trying to offer her. And Erin is a really good guy, but Karen is just not used to not having that one particular itch being scratched. In any case, they break it off. Erin doesn't really leave her a choice. He says that although he may have some of her heart, Zach has some of her heart too, and he can't, share it in that way. So he gets up to walk away and she apologizes. And then he goes over and kisses her on the forehead and tells her to don't be sorry. And he walks off, but he looks really, really hurt. And she's still saying, I'm sorry, as she's walking through the door. So yeah, that's a tough scene because I do like Karen with Erin. I also like Zach with Fatima. So I really don't want them to get back together. Anyway, next scene, we have Danny in the car with Sabrina, and they're having dumb conversation about Calvin. Not important. What is important is that Sabrina's phone rings and she answers it, and it's somebody from the bank. And they're finally getting back to her with the video surveillance of the person that actually charged Karen's credit card. And it turns out to be a woman. And Danny recognizes her as one of Karen's clients. So look at that. Zach was telling the truth, Karen. So I'm very excited to see Karen's reaction to that whole thing. So in the next scene, you have Maurice finally getting home and Calvin is there ironing his shirt. And he's low-key giving Maurice a hard time. He's still kind of stank about what happened. But he eventually gets over it, and it really still comes out that he has feelings for Sabrina. Duh. And he's a little jealous of Jacoby. The few times he's been in the bank, he sees the way that they've looked at each other, and he tries to squeeze information out of Maurice, and at the very least he learned that they hung out outside of work. Maurice didn't really have much else outside of that to give him. So Calvin and him got into another little tiff, and then Calvin storms off and steals his wine. In the next scene, you see Zach at one of the houses that he's trying to flip, and he's, doing some work, and then Fatima walks in and she gives him a whole stack of money, $25,000 cash, because this and the house that he's in and one of the other houses that he worked on sold. All the homes sold because the developer is moving in. I think they're building a school and trying to make everything nice. So the developer bought up all the homes. And so Fatima told him that he should reinvest it because the organization is on like a real street. They're buying and selling homes all the time. And in 8 to 10 months, he could have like $100,000. So he should reinvest it. Zach says, you know what, I will, but I'm going to take out some money to get my own place. Fatima says, actually, how about you just take out $2,000 for yourself and just move in with me? I really like you and I would like to see where this goes. And so Zach is really hesitant. I don't know if it's because he feels guilty about what he did with Karen earlier that day, or if he's burned from his experience living with Karen. But he just seemed a bit hesitant, but agrees to it at the same time, because Fatima's like, don't waste your money on that. Reinvest as much of it as you can. So in the long run, it'll work out for you. So he agrees. It seems like he does so begrudgingly, but I will only be able to tell how he really feels in the upcoming episodes. In any case, she asked him again what's wrong, and he says it's nothing, but he's still acting kind of weird. In any case, she tells him that he needs to hurry up and come home so that she can cook him some dinner. They decide to go home separately, so Fatima leaves first, and Zach is in there dancing with his money, which I'm really glad something finally worked out for him, because especially the way he was crying to Karen the episode before, it really made me feel for him, like he'd been trying for years and years and years and nothing was working. And not only was Karen beating him up, he was beating himself up. So it's really great that something finally worked out for him. So in the next scene, we are back to Andy's apartment with her and Gary talking, and essentially she agrees that they are officially engaged. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. A part of the whole engagement conversation was Andy telling Gary that she actually truly has an issue with his jealousy and how much it has grown over the years. She hates it. It scares her. It's not a good thing. And he says, he understands and he's working on it. And he thinks that they both should go to therapy. And she asked him why he thinks that she should go. And he says that she has this need to be perfect and wants attention from men. And she goes, why do you think that I want attention? And he says that she flirts a lot and she smiles and she's a pretty girl. And it just didn't seem like a legitimate reason for someone to go to counseling. It just seems like you're a jealous person and you can't control her. So you're hoping the therapist can help tone down those wonderful things that attract people to her so that you can have her all to herself. So Gary, every time I try to give you an inch and take one step forward with you, you keep taking 2 steps backwards. I mean, I don't understand. I'm trying to like you, but then, then you say some stupid things and I'm lost. But in any case, they're all lovey-dovey and now they're engaged. Yay. And then Karen, Sabrina, and Danny walk in on them, and Gary excuses himself from the conversation and the room because he knows what's about to go down. So in any case, the ladies are there talking, and the only one who seems to be taking it seriously is Sabrina. She's trying to convince Danny that this isn't the right move because Gary has done something physical to her before. But Andy doesn't want to hear it. She's in love. And so Danny was joking around, but eventually she says the same thing, like, we're not going to convince her otherwise because she has already made up her mind, and we already know how she gets when she makes up her mind. So we have no choice but for her to wait until she changes her mind. There's nothing we can do to force her in or out of a situation. And then they both look at Karen, or actually all 3 of them look at Karen, expecting her to have an opinion, but Karen does not, because she does not want to be a hypocrite, because just as Andy predicted, she did go ahead and do something with Zach, indicating that she may still have feelings for him. So that comes out in conversation, that she messed around with Zach, and Aaron came in and found out and broke it off with her. Karen looks kind of hurt, which is obvious because she really liked Aaron and she's conflicted about Zach. In the beginning of the conversation, Andy was kind of gloating a little bit, like, I told you so, but by the end of it, she kind of came around and realized that her friend was really hurt. Danny brought up the fact that she messed with Zach without knowing for certain that whether or not he was the one that charged all those things to her credit card. So that was interesting. In that moment, they showed Karen the tape, and she realized that the whole time Zach was telling the truth. So they end that conversation and they go back on to Andy, who says again, Gary's doing counseling. He promises he'll never hit me again, and if he does, I promise that I'm out. And Danny brings up that she was in an abusive relationship in college, and Andy let that guy get away with a lot, so she better be certain that if he does it again, that she will absolutely leave. And then Sabrina also brings up the fact that you're engaged to Gary, but you don't know Gary. Gary was a married man who would come over and sleep with you at night and then leave and go back to his wife and then have a regular day. So you don't know who Gary is during the daytime. Although that was a rough statement, Andy is still adamant that she still wants to marry him. But she says she's going to make it a very long engagement and not set a date yet because she wants to make sure that she's doing the right thing. But anyway, they decided they're going to take a break, get some cheese, get some more wine, and come back to Andy's place and have more in-depth conversations about their relationships. So they all go to the grocery store, and it looks like Danny's doing a lot of her grocery shopping and is expecting one of her girls to pick up the tab. This time it's Sabrina, because apparently Sabrina owes her some money. So while in the grocery store, one of them makes a joke about Karen getting it in with Zach earlier that day, but right at that point they bump into Fatima, who heard the name Zach. And so Fatima kind of inquires about that, and the girls say that Zach is Karen's ex and they had a little fling earlier that day. And then they start asking Fatima some questions, and somehow they fall upon the stuff that's in her basket, and then inquire whether or not it's for her man, and then they realize they never got his name, and then Fatima says it's Zach, and then they all are like, Zach? That's an interesting coincidence. Zach what? And then Zach rolls around the corner and bumps into the whole group of ladies, and Fatima's like, that's Zach. And everyone just kind of dispersed except for Fatima and Karen, who just stand there and looking at each other, which is interesting because Fatima and Karen are really like the opposite sides of the same coin, right? So they're both really strong women, they're both really tough. Karen is a bit more hard-headed, Fatima is a bit more open-minded. Karen is, well, at least when it comes to Zach, was cutting him down at the knees or maybe the ankles, and Fatima seems to fill that cup. So this episode ends with them in the grocery store just looking at each other, and we'll see where they pick up with next week. But this is very interesting. There's only a couple episodes left in this season, so we'll see how it goes. But that's it for season 2, episode 21 of Sistas. Let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you next time. Peace.